Fortunately, I'm starting to get this gut feeling that we might not even see Caitlin back on the court this season, and that might actually be the best thing. Caitlin should be out for the rest of the season. Maybe this season is just done for her. Maybe it doesn't make sense.
Injury report that Caitlin Clark is a game time decision. I think they did that for ticket sales. I think they knew that we all was going to pick up on that and pretty much say, well, you know what? There's a chance Caitlin Clark could be coming back for this game, maybe even that game.
So listen to this. Caitlin Clark just dropped a total bombshell. She's apparently walking away from the Indiana Fever because she's just completely fed up with all the hypocrisy in this league.
About the Caitlin Clark injury. Let's listen to her, bro.
Caitlin starting full court running last week. Has she been able to do anything extra since then or return to practice at all?
No return to practice. She's been able to get a little bit more in her full court running, with her all of her body weight. It's really building up from doing minimal to then building some endurance to do longer periods of time. She's been able to do a little bit more on the court in terms of how she moved.
Caitlin Clark's.
So there is really no timetable as to when Caitlin Clark could return. Y'all got me? There is no set time as when CC could possibly be coming back. And as of right now, the Indiana Fever is looking real spooky because they're not keeping it.
And get this, she's been out since July 17th. But the WNBA, they're just pushing out these super vague, totally contradictory updates, clearly just to sell more tickets.
But it's looking like he don't care for Caitlin Clark. We know clear as day that Stephanie White has been looking in certain areas not to be feeling the Caitlin Clark effect. I don't know, but this stuff is definitely looking.
Look, it's really concerning. And don't even get me started on how they've been handling these updates. First, it was day to day, right? Then, suddenly, she's out indefinitely. And my absolute favorite, they listed her as a game-time decision for the Dallas game. Seriously, a game-time decision for someone who literally hasn't practiced in weeks. It's just ridiculous.
Specifically, the reporting around Caitlin Clark's injury, because I feel like it is getting stranger by the day. It has been a month now that Caitlin has.
What are they going to say next? That she's probable for the 2032 season? And then, just when you think it can't get any crazier, Coach Stephanie White drops this bomb. Caitlin hasn't practiced at all, not even one single practice. So why on earth is she even on the game status sheet? Oh wait, I know, ticket sales. Gotta keep those seats full and those live stream numbers from completely flatlining, right?
Yesterday, she was listed as a game time decision for today's game against the Dallas Wings. And then after practice yesterday, Coach Stephanie White basically came out and said, like, no, Caitlin Clark hasn't even been practicing. So they changed it from a game time decision to her being out.
And let's be real about the math here. There are only 12 games left in the regular season, which wraps up on September 9th. Every single day she's out makes her chances of coming back basically microscopic. At this point, her possible return window, it's looking like trying to use the drive-thru at a closed McDonald's. You can show up, sure, but you're definitely not getting anything.
At the Indiana Fever's schedule right now, they only have 12 games left, and there is exactly 4 weeks left in the regular season. And the craziest.
Now, let's talk about this whole magical timeline circus. Beat reporter Scott Agnes just had to come in and play mood killer, dropping that now infamous at least several more weeks comment. Seriously, several more weeks. My friend, do you even know what season we're in? That means she'd be back for maybe 6 games, tops, before the playoffs. What's even the point of that? Just to sell some last-minute comeback montage. ESPN actually thought they had it all figured out, circling August 12th as her big return. But of course, in classic WNBA style, game day list started playing musical chairs. She was questionable in the morning, then out by lunch.
Replying to someone else's comment who said, just can't wait until CC is back. She's the most dynamic, electric player in the WNBA. Great job, Lexi. And then Scott Agnes replied and he said, have patience, at least several more weeks.
And then, surprise, surprise, Stephanie White herself actually admits it. Caitlin hasn't done a single full practice. Not one. So where exactly is this game time decision even coming from? Is it a decision about whether she's going to sit on the bench in sneakers or in slides. Because honestly, if you haven't practiced, you're not playing. Everybody knows that.
Contenders at this point, I'm just not so sure. Do you risk another injury that can again compound and turn into something else down the line? Now, one other
And here's the thing. This isn't even the first time they've pulled this kind of nonsense. Remember mid-season? She came back from a quad injury after exactly one full-speed practice. One. And what happened? She got hurt again. Can you imagine being so bad at managing injuries that your star player is basically stuck in the world's worst cycle? Injured, rushed back, injured again. So, either the WNBA is just completely incapable of communicating clearly, or they're deliberately hiding the truth. Honestly, I don't even know which one is worse. Both are a total slap in the face to all the fans who are literally paying to watch this mess.
a star player like that, we will never know all the information, nor should we know all the information. And that's actually good for Caitlin. It protects her for when she does come back on the court. She can't be targeted. Teams can't use a certain injury or ailment against her if people don't really know what is going on. But
you want to talk about a real disaster? Let's get into the full-blown fever meltdown. In one night, yes, one single cursed night against Phoenix, both backup point guards who were filling in for Caitlin, they were both wiped out for the season. It was like the basketball gods just decided to flip the table and walk out. First, Sydney Coulson tears her left ACL in the first quarter. She's in her mid-30s, which, let's be honest, in WNBA years, is basically senior citizen territory for guards. An ACL at that age isn't just a season ender, it's a career flipper. And that's brutal because Coulson wasn't just some bench warmer. She had her moments, she brought leadership, she was those steady hands when things got shaky. Now she's just gone.
Thrown back into any mix if she doesn't have significant practices under her belt before she goes into game speed. You can try to simulate game speed as much as you want in practice.
Then, as if the universe was feeling extra petty that night, Ari McDonald goes down in the fourth quarter with a broken bone in her right foot. This happened just when she was really in the middle of proving herself again, showing everyone she could run the offense, push the pace, and be a real spark for the team. Boom, just like that, her season was over too.
Coulson sustained an anterior cruciate ligament ACL tear. Sydney into her ACL in her left knee during the first quarter of the game.
It began in the first quarter.
Oh, and because the WNBA operates with the urgency of a DMV on its lunch break, the trade deadline had passed, get this, 4 days earlier, which means no blockbuster trades, no sneaky late season steals to help them out. The Fever are basically just stuck staring at their roster thinking, well, guess we're completely screwed.
I think you're wrong. Again, you think it'll be a couple more weeks before CC returns to practice. Please stop always saying negative and depressing hit about Caitlin Clark. She has been running full court consistently as reported for over a week.
And speaking of that roster, let's talk about how hilariously thin it is right now. Technically, they've got 10 healthy players. But that's just on paper, right? In reality, Coach White just refuses to even play Chloe Beebe, KK, or Bree Turner, which means you're basically rolling with only 7 players in a league where you need fresh legs just to survive. And yeah, I said refuses because it's not like these players are injured, she just plain doesn't want to play them. This is like trying to cook a meal with half your ingredients because you don't like the other ones. It's not strategy, it's just pure stubbornness.
Scotty Boy is right, and it's still going to be a couple weeks. You should want to be encouraging to the fans, bro. Like, let's just give it some time. Not just it's going to be a couple weeks. Like, I don't know.
Now, let's look at the numbers. With Clark, the Fever were 8-5. Without her, they're 9-7. So that's not totally catastrophic yet, but it's a really steady slide. And with their depth chart now looking like something from a middle school rec league, it's only going to get uglier. Their playoff push is basically on life support, with the machine beeping slower and slower every single game. And here's the cherry on top. All of this chaos is happening while your biggest draw, the literal face of the franchise, is just sitting there in street clothes, day to day for a whole month, while the league just keeps pumping out vague injury updates like they're reading fortune cookies.
Now, initially, it was a growing strain, like a pulled muscle. Caitlin Clark has not played a game since July the 17th. It is now August 12th. In 5 days.
So Caitlin Clark sits down with Sue Bird, probably thinking it's just a nice little interview, and she casually drops a story that should make every Fever fan want to throw something at the wall. She actually admits that Coach Stephanie White benched her mid-game for 2 turnovers in a row. Okay, fine. Coaches bench players for turnovers. That happens. But here's the kicker. The lesson was apparently that she should stop trying risky plays, like a fast break pass to a teammate. And not only that, later on, after Clark actually held back on one of those passes, White praised her for it. You heard me right. She got a pat on the back for not doing the thing that makes her Caitlin freaking Clark.
Cohesion might be the right word. They've had cohesion issues this entire season. When Caitlin Clark is in, the team plays completely different than when Caitlin Clark is not on the court.
Clark even admitted it hurt not to make that pass. And you know what? It should hurt. This is the stuff she's famous for. The bold plays, the lightning-fast decisions, those passes that make the crowd lose its mind and instantly swing momentum, but apparently that's not part of the safe, cookie-cutter, don't-take-risks brand of basketball that Stephanie White wants, which is just insane. You don't recruit the biggest name in women's basketball in years, someone who brings all that hype, just to tell her to tone it down and be like everyone else.
A whole 30+ days for a pulled muscle, essentially. I've been saying this. Caitlin Clark adding that muscle was way too fast. Probably messed up her mobility, and her basically her equilibrium is off. Her balance is off.
This is how you ruin a generational player. Seriously. You basically coach the Caitlin. Right out of Caitlin. You strip away all that personality and flair that actually put the WNBA on the front page for once in its life, and you just turn her into another solid player. Let's be real, nobody is showing up or tuning in for solid. People are here for those logo three-pointers, the impossible dimes, and plays that make you rewind your DVR just to see if that really happened.
Practice, she's been able to get a little bit more in her full court running, with her all of her body weight. It's really building up from doing minimal to then building some endurance to do longer periods of time. She's been able to do a little bit more on the court in terms of how she moved.
Caitlin Clark's
It's like if Steve Kerr saw Steph Curry pull up from deep and said, "Yeah, Steph, don't do that again. Just take the mid-range jumper." Think about it. Before Steph changed the NBA, those long threes were considered bad shots. Nowadays, basically the standard. Caitlin could absolutely do the same for the WNBA if the league and her own coach don't smother her under all these boring, safe tactics. But of course, the WNBA being the WNBA, they're perfectly capable of taking their one true star and telling her to be less interesting.
Possibly be injury prone, maybe. You know what I'm saying? We don't know because they're not being transparent with the injury. They're saying it's a growing strain. It's clearly not a strain, guys. I just want to let you know. Now, Stephanie White said this yesterday.
Meanwhile, the team's actual situation right now couldn't be worse. With Sydney Colson and Ari McDonald both done for the season, the Fever literally have 0 natural point guards left. None. They're forcing Kelsey Mitchell, who's built to score, to bring the ball up. And they're even making Aaliyah Boston, who's a center, act like a guard sometimes. That's just how desperate they are. It's like making your goalie take corner kicks in soccer because you literally have no one else.
Well, this is the kind of update I never want to have to give. And this is a bad one, and it affects the same position.
Look, fans aren't dumb. They can totally see what's going on here. And plenty of them suspect the league is just keeping Caitlin's real status under wraps to keep eyeballs on the games. But the reports floating around say she's already been privately ruled out for the rest of the regular season, which means all these little maybe she's close hints are nothing more than bait. And it's not like she's soft, either. Clark played 25 consecutive games between college and the early part of her rookie WNBA season without missing a single one for injury. Now, she's missed games 4 separate times in just this rookie year. Quad, pulls, groin pulls, all the kind of injuries you rack up when your body is getting absolutely pounded every single night and you're rushed back without enough recovery time.
We lost 2 very, very competent players, including the starting point guard that was filling in for the other starting point guard.
They only have 12 games left, and there is exactly 4 weeks left in the regular season. And the craziest thing about this last groin injury with Caitlin Clark is how it's been covered.
The risk here is pretty obvious, right? Bring her back too early, and you're just asking for another injury, maybe even something worse that could mess with her long-term career. But without her, the Fever are looking at just crawling into the playoffs as a super low seed, probably 8th, with no real shot at doing anything. And the emotional toll is totally real. This team has been slapped around by injuries all year, and Clark's return might be the only thing that would give them that spark to actually believe again. And here's the real kicker. The entire league is basically hanging on one player's groin right now. Playoff hopes, ticket sales, national attention, all of it is riding on her. And the way the league and the team have managed this whole situation, it makes them look amateur, if we're being nice. Manipulative, if we're telling the absolute truth. So yeah, if you want the unfiltered truth about this and every other WNBA train wreck, you should definitely stick around. Because clearly, they're not going to give you the real story themselves. And at this rate, the next update on Caitlin Clark might as well be a press release saying, "We're still just making it up as we go."